It's an interesting point. There's
Mhm.
two things going on really. One is that there's more competition than ever. There's more founders than ever seeking capital. It's become a bit of a trend. It's become a thing that you do. It's become a much more normalized thing. So there's just many more founders leveraging technology, building startup ideas, and looking to raise funding. The other thing is that shift in investor mindset, and it's really interesting. Like when you look at 2023, which is where we are now, like things feel tough. But that's only in comparison to the last couple of years, where you kind of mentioned that there was kind of this recklessness to the last couple of years, and we saw.
And I'd like to welcome James to Quit and Switch. James, how are you doing today?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Pleasure. Look, I'm really excited about this conversation today because I mean, of course, we spoke over LinkedIn. You're doing amazing things. You got a fantastic, brand new book. You're doing great things in the startup investing world, and I'm looking forward to sharing your journey. With our listeners, with our quitting switches out there, and also allowing you to share some actionable insights to our listeners as well. So James, look, let's go straight into it. So before we get into it, actually, I just want to let you guys know that James is he is the COO and he is the co-founder of Robot Mascot, and he's also the author of the award-winning book, which is the Amazon best-selling book, which is Investable Entrepreneur, which you guys can get on Amazon and other places, and he'll tell you where you can find it as well. So James, could you tell us a bit about your quit and switch journey? So tell us about your transition from being a graphic designer and working in marketing to moving into the startup and investing world.
Yeah, it was quite the journey. But I started life as a graphic designer in brand communication. Did a lot of work at branding and advertising agencies. Did some
Mhm.
freelancing as well as some employed roles. And then ended up in house at charity as a graphic designer at charity who had they had a social enterprise they were building, and they had a few other projects on the go, and they were really struggling with the marketing of the charity, getting the funding and the donations they needed, as well as this kind of social enterprise. So they brought in a change around kind of coach within the marketing space for sort of 6 months to help them really figure it out. And his job was to employ someone at the end who could take on the marketing manager role. Instead of employing someone, he spotted me and was like, actually, we should train this guy up and give him the job. So I ended up switching from graphic design into kind of marketing and marketing strategy, doing a second degree in that on the side of having this role. And then my colleague of mine that I'd gotten really well with in some of my first design jobs had started a brand agency, a brand communication agency called Robot Mascot. And
Mhm.
he asked me to join him as co-founder about sort of 12 to 18 months after the agency was founded. So I switched again from kind of marketing into being a co-founder and entrepreneurship, and went back to my roots of kind of brand communication, but using a lot of the skills I'd learned in marketing to help promote that agency and build that agency. After about 5 years of sort of slogging it out as a small agency, trying to get off the ground, really struggling to, as every startup does, I think, in the consulting space, you can throw a stone in London and you'll hit a window of a brand agency. There's millions of them out there. So it was really difficult to get cut through. And after about 5 years, we identified this issue around founders communicating with investors to raise investment. And to cut a long story
Mhm.
short, we spent 18 months or so researching that space and pivoted the agency into a niche kind of pitch and investment readiness agency. All of the research ended up in my book, Investable Entrepreneur, and that really launched this probably the third or fourth switch in my career to sort of a specialist communication agency around investment, and we've seen incredible growth and success since then. So yeah, lots of sort of little switches that have all kind of led to this moment, really.
That's a fantastic story, James. Thanks for sharing. There's a number of interesting takeaways I got from that, from hearing your journey. So one takeaway I got was the skill stacking that you've done from all of the switch. And so, the graphic design, the marketing, and then moving into agencies, and then niching down in your agency, and then becoming a specialist in that area. And then the second takeaway I got from that, I think, for our quit and switchers listening out there, is that it's really important to find a niche. When you find a niche and you find a real challenge or problem within a specific community that you can solve, it can then create a nice solution. You can then go out and find a nice solution, which can turn into cash flow for you.
That's
So
it.
that's a very good lesson there.
I think if there's one thing that I wish I'd done sooner in entrepreneurship, it would have been
Mm-hmm.
niche. I think we spent 5 years going, oh, it's scary to niche because you're potentially getting rid of potential clients, because we were getting by doing kind of a TV campaign one month, the radio campaign the next month, doing some brochures, some websites, like anything we could get our hands on with regards to work.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, if we say we just do one thing, we're going to, where's all the revenue going to come from? But as soon as we did that, we had such focus in our communication and such focus in our marketing and our outreach that we become known for this one thing and being the best in the country at this one thing. And then the work just flowed in as a result. And our messaging could get tighter, our strategy could be tighter, our product could be better because we only had one thing we had to be really good at, and everything just ended up snowballing as a result of that niche. So yeah, that would be a real top tip for me. It's scary to do, but when you're brave enough to do it, it pays off massively.
Yeah, it does pay off. And again, that's another nugget you dropped. This one thing. I think there's a lot of people who get sidetracked on trying to provide everything to everyone. But if you just focus on doing one thing and doing it really, really well, you could become the go-to person for that thing. And that alone is enough to bring you the revenue that you need to, to thrive in your area of business.
That's
This is
it.
fantastic. James, could you tell us a little bit more about Robot Mascot?
Yeah, so as I alluded to, Robot Mascot started off as a brand communications agency. It's now very much an investment readiness agency. We're recognised as the UK's leading pitch agency. We won global awards for our approach to raising investment, and our clients are 40 times more likely to secure the funding that they're looking for. And the secret really is that we don't come from an investment background. We're not ex VCs. We're not ex angel investors. There's people out there that provide advice from those backgrounds, but we've learned this from the outside looking in. We've figured out what works, what doesn't work, and then we've added our layer of expertise on top of the kind of dull, boring kind of business plan, financials, and pitch deck. We've added our layer of communication skills on top. And when you can treat each of these kind of documents that you need to go and raise investment as a kind of a sales and marketing tool for selling shares in your business, and whether it's a business plan or a financial forecast or a pitch deck, it's trying to tell a story, it's trying to communicate something about you and the business and the concept to an investor so that they have trust in you. Once you add that layer of communication to it, it massively kind of increases your success with investors, because you've got to everything you do in business is a pitch. Everything you do in business is telling a story, whether it's signing up a client, launching a new product, or raising investment. You've got to be able to tell those stories, and that unique insight and that something different that we bring to the table is really what creates the success for our clients, really.
Amazing, James. That's great stuff. So startups in their journey of business, they can approach Robot Mascot when maybe they're struggling or they have a desire to raise funds. And is that raising at any level, or is it pre-seed, seed, Series A, etc.?
Yeah, so our focus is very much pre-seed, seed, and Series A.
Okay.
Which, for those that aren't aware of those kind of
Thank you.
terms, that's your
Thank
kind
you.
of early stage funding. So pre-seed would be kind of concept stage funding to sort of validate the concept and prove that there's a market here that wants to buy this product, and it's a scalable market that can make loads of money. Seed being kind of, you've got that validation and now you need to build your first product and get it out into the market and start signing up customers. And then Series A usually being like, we're already at 50 to 80k a month in revenues, and now we need to scale this up into a multi-million-dollar business. So it's sort of funding rounds to achieve those things is kind of our specialist area, which is known as early stage funding. And then from there, you get later stage funding, which just goes on Series B, C, D forever. I think Elon Musk is on a Series J for SpaceX. He's just, just raising money. That guy.
Oh, he's on another planet right now.
Well,
Honestly,
it's
he's
literally
doing
that's his
crazy
goal,
things.
right? It's literally his aim is to be on another planet. So yeah, it's
I
indeed.
love the pun. I love the pun. So James, thanks for explaining, the different stages of like raising investment. I think it's very useful to know, at what stage startups and listeners can maybe approach, your agency that and get the support that they need. I think it's very interesting that I think in today's day and age, that I think it's even harder to raise funds because I think everyone's cutting back. People really want that return on investment on their money, and I think people are being a lot more reckless with investing. I'm not saying that they're not smart people, but I think when you look at stories such as WeWork, and when you hear their story, they got money for fun. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But now I think people are learning from the WeWorks of this world to be more savvy with their investing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's an interesting point. There's
mhm.
two things going on really. One is that there's more competition than ever. There's more founders than ever seeking capital. It's become a bit of a trend. It's become a thing that you do. It's become a much more normalized thing. So there's just many more founders leveraging technology, building startup ideas, and looking to raise funding. The other thing is that shift in investor mindset, and it's really interesting. Like when you look at 2023, which is where we are now, like things feel tough. But that's only in comparison to the last couple of years, where you kind of mentioned that there was kind of this recklessness to the last couple of years. And we saw almost a decade's worth of investment across Europe in the last couple of years, which is just insane. So the last couple of years were the blip, really. And there was this reckless kind of build it and they will come. We're just going to throw money at some silly technologies and hope that it sticks. It's so we've just kind of reverted back to how things kind of were in 2018, 2019, which at the time were record breaking years and everyone was super excited about the amount of money being invested into startups. We were just spoiled kind of post COVID with this incredible kind of uplift where we saw a decade worth of investment in 2 years. And now it feels like we're in a bit of a lull. Whereas if those 2 years hadn't have happened, things would be feeling very different right now. People would be going, we're on course for a record breaking year, and everything really jubilant. So it's a bit of historical context as well. And you realize that actually there is still a huge amount of money being pumped into founders with brilliant ideas that can solve meaningful problems. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just the context right now.
So the market's still alive and well then.
The market's alive and well. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And I think this is a great segue, James, to talk about your brand new book, Investable Entrepreneur. Yeah, I think this would be a good time to talk about. So let's talk about it. So, when did the book come out, and where did the idea for the book come from?
Yeah, so the book came out a couple of years ago. So and at the time it became an Amazon bestseller. It actually outsold Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and people like that on its release, which was pretty exciting. It went pretty cool. So yeah, it's kind of really it's everything I've learned having gone through the process of figuring out there's a problem here with founders pitching for investment and understanding that space and how we found a way to fix that. And it's everything I've learned, and I've sort of bundle it up into a strategy called the 6 principles of the perfect pitch, and take you through these six stages of development that you need to go through as a founder to really communicate your vision and your concept and your business strategy to an investor in a way that makes them want to say, yes, I'll invest, I'll back you and your vision.
Okay, so essentially the book is maybe like maybe it's a quick, maybe not a quick guide, but it's essentially a type of guide for them. Maybe rather than speaking to your agency, it's like a small guide for them to actually learn how they can.
Essential guide, I might say, but it's a guide. And it's there it's there to explain everything that we've learned as an agency, give tips and guides, kind of, this is the strategy that we apply every single day with our clients to get them the results. And I've had countless people message me on LinkedIn saying, thanks so much for the book. I've implemented everything in it and I've gone and raised some, X amount of money. And that's great. That's what it's there for. It's to help as many founders as possible, support them with raising their funding, share the knowledge that we've learned over the years that just isn't out there. There's not one single resource that talks about this in a way that resonates with founders. As I said, I don't come from an investment background, so it's not a load of investor speak. It's entrepreneurial speak. It's me explaining almost to my past self kind of everything that I've learned who knew nothing about this space. So it really engages with a lot of founders because it cuts through that kind of slightly pretentious investor speak that you might hear when speaking to ex-investors or current investors around the way they think about things. And it kind of tries to make it really simple and really easy to understand for an entrepreneur who's doing this for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need, James. We need simple, we need easy, we don't need to overcomplicate things. You understand? We just need to make it nice and straightforward so people can get the knowledge they need and understand what's going on and go about their business, really. Like, you don't need to complicate it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our job is, like I say, we're a communications agency at the end of the day. If we can't make a simple and easy guide that communicates with founders, then we're probably not very good at our job. So I like that this book is that, and the reviews would suggest that we've achieved that goal.
Excellent. Yeah, I just want to congratulate you on all your success so far. And it's great that you mentioned that you've had success from the book. I mean, of course you would, but it's great that you've mentioned people have actually gone on, they bought the book and they've actually got success using, applying or implementing strategies from the book, which is great. Because I was going to ask you, how has readers got on with the book? But clearly readers are doing great after reading the book as well. So you're doing a great job at Robot Mascot, James. From the sound of it, the book is, if you will, maybe like a extension from that. And of course, you've gone on to pick up some business awards. Could you tell us about picking up a business award of the year and what award that was in particular and how that came about?
Yeah, so we've won a number of awards now, but probably the most exciting ones were the Globee Award, which is a global award for Disruptor of the Year. So we've got Disruptor Agency of the Year. We were up against other agencies from New York and Hong Kong and Singapore and all over the world, and managed to secure the first place, the gold award for Disruptor of the Year with a
wow.
So that gave us kind of the tagline being the disruptor of disruptors, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that was an exciting one. That was fun to go and pick up the award there. And then later on that year, we won Business Advisor of the Year at a UK national awards, the Business Growth Awards. For Business Advisor of the Year. So yeah, they're probably the two most exciting ones we've won to date. They were both really, really prestigious awards and great events and good black tie kind of events to go pick them up, and all felt very glitz, which was pretty cool.
Congratulations. And I mean, once you have success in a business or an agency, I think the next step is to, really get that social proof. So you're getting testimonials, you're getting case studies of real businesses, real entrepreneurs saying that, I've worked with you and you've helped me to do an amazing job. And then you're picking up awards and, you have the whole of the country saying, no, you are doing a great job. So it can only mean that you guys are only doing the right things. So I want to congratulate you so far on all of your success. And this is only going to be great social proof, and it's going to establish quick credibility for you to go on and to continue to do great work and to continue to have more success. What would the future of Robot Mascot? I know this is a little bit outside of the journey of our conversation, but what would the future quickly of Robot Mascot potentially look like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously continuing to support more and more founders, raise the investment that they need. We've just launched some investor outreach services as well. So we're not just preparing founders for investors now, we're helping them actually get in touch with investors and kind of delivering them warm investor leads to start conversations with. So we're really excited to start offering that and kind of kind of every single client that we work with, more or less, in with the feedback forms that we send out, we always
Mm-hmm.
ask a question, and any business owner should always do this. What's next for you, and how can we help? Because that unlocks the next product, the next thing you can sell on to the customers
Mm-hmm.
you've already got. And
True.
99% of the time it was like, help me get in front of investors, which is kind of obvious, but
Yeah.
sometimes you need to be told these things. So we've gone and
Yeah.
found a way to do that in an effective way and launched that service. So looking to scale and grow that, and then kind of wider expansion. Like we've got a really good presence in the UK. Like I say, we're recognised as the UK's leading pitch agency. We're partnered with some of the biggest kind of brands in the investment world over here in the UK. So we're now looking to kind of expand into the EU. And work with clients across the EU who are raising investment, because a lot of EU investment is happening in some really exciting territories like France, Germany, but also Eastern Europe as well is really booming. So we want to get involved in those startup scenes as well, and have
Amazing.
a wider impact. So yeah.
Amazing. I love this conversation, James. I love what I'm hearing, and it sounds like you've got a very clear cut plan. You know, you've kind of mastered helping entrepreneurs or startups, you know, achieve raising investment, and now the next step is, okay, cool. Now we're gonna match you up with an investor, and then the next step from there is, now we want to. Now I think we've done some good in the UK. We've won awards. You know, we've helped people, we've helped entrepreneurs and startups in the UK, and now let's go a little bit more international. I
Yeah,
think
because
your plan is very logical.
we've had international clients kind of by accident, like clients from all over the world, from Asia, Africa, Australia, the US have kind of found us through our reputation. We want to
Hmm.
solidify that a little bit more and have a proper strategy for sort of seeking out and converting clients in those areas, have a proper marketing plan to make that more established rather than the odd kind of happy accident. And just relying on our reputation alone. So yeah, that's the plan. Make it a bit more consolidated, that growth
Hmm.
internationally.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like you wanna, you know, be clear in your growth and where you're going and who you're working with, and not
Yeah,
just work with anybody or anything.
yeah, it's really
Have there been
important.
any? Sorry.
Anyone listening, like what's really important, what's really helped us is to have kind of a 10-year kind of moonshot vision for the business, and then what does 5 years look like? What does 3 years look like? What does the next year look like? What do the next 4 quarters look like to get me to that yearly target? What do the next 3 months look like to get me to that quarterly target? And just kind of every quarter mapping that out and reassessing, is that still our 10-year vision? Where do we need to be in 5 years to get there? Where do we need to be in 3 years to get to the 5 year goal? And just work back and then end up with three monthly tasks that contribute towards that 10-year vision. And if you can get into the habit of doing that kind of planning in the business every quarter, that's
Yeah.
when you start to see stuff actually happening. You don't get tied up into the day-to-day delivery, and you spend some time thinking, oh, actually, I've got this moonshot, but all I have to do is these three things over the next 3 months, and I'm making progress on that goal, and breaking it down into those kind of smaller targets makes it actually happen. Other Otherwise, it just stays a dream. It just stays a vision. So yeah, that kind of planning really helps. And the mentor we had that explained that process to us, it just unlocked our ability to really sort of push the business forward.
Now, this is exciting, James. It really comes down to, from what I'm hearing from you, for our quit and switchers listening out there, it's breaking down, you know, your future goals into small, actionable steps that would compound over the
That's it.
months and the years to come, and then it's going to get them to where they need to get to, rather than having, you know, these 5-10 year plans and being overwhelmed. It's really just being more agile and more iterational about it, if you will.
That's it.
Yeah, this is great. This is great stuff, James. I also heard you talk about business advising and things like that. What advice would you give to listeners out there that want to maybe follow a similar transition as you? Maybe they're in a career, it could be education, it could be graphic design, it could be marketing, and then they want to move into the startup investing world, or they want to have their agency. You know, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you've got to test and validate the market. So you've got to feel comfortable to quit before you switch, right? So you probably want to do some time. You want to do some time kind of exploring the market, really understanding who your audience are, what your offer is, what resonates with them, and in doing so, don't be afraid to niche and kind of go, this is the one problem I solve, this is the package that I want to offer clients. Now I need to validate that people are willing to pay what I want to charge for it, and that there's enough people out there that would engage with that. So you can do all of that as a side hustle, kind of testing it on the side of your day job. And then when you feel confident, you're in a position to quit, and then really focusing on that and start generating those leads. But the thing for us is, once you've got that understanding of what you offer and that it's resonating with an audience, and that you've got the right concept, the right offer, the right audience, and you've got that mix and that balance right. For me, it was personal branding absolutely unlocked the conversation, because people buy from people, they don't buy from faceless brands. We talked a bit about credibility and awards, and it takes a long while to build an agency to a point where you can be award winning and you can have that credibility and all those testimonials and that social proof. But people will buy from people, and if you can start putting thought leadership content out there, you can start shining the spotlight on things in your industry that need to change and should be better, or tips and advice on how people can improve around the thing that you're currently selling. You become a thought leader, you become you have this personal brand, and then people will want to buy from you. Write a book and get that out there, and become the expert in your niche, and show that you really understand your game, and you've got a clearly defined and unique strategy for delivering clients results. And if you can do that, whether you've got a product or a service industry, that's going to give you the initial cut through you need to get those first customers through the door, and then you're in a position to start growing a brand and start growing a business around that. But personal brand can be a really, really smart way to go.
Excellent advice, James. I really appreciate you sharing this. And what I got from that is there's clear steps that people need to take. There's a process that they need to go through. Like, they shouldn't rush success. They should nurture it slowly, and they should gradually get to where they need to get to. Because if they jump some steps that you've talked about, then they may not get there when they want to get there, and they may have to start all over again. I think that's really, really important. James, I want to talk about the pitch ready scorecard that you've come up
Yes.
with. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Pitch Ready scorecard is a resource we've created. It basically it's a quiz. Takes less than around about 3 minutes to complete. Series of yes no questions, and it basically benchmarks and tests your current ability to raise investment. Do you have what it takes? Do you have what do you have the various kind of things in place to be successful at raising investment? And it will give you a score, and then it will break that down into 3 or 4 categories, and it will give you a 12-page tailored report on your investment readiness with tips and advice on how to improve each of those core categories that you need to cover to be investment ready and pitch ready. Off of the back of that, you can take that quiz, get that report, get that insight, but you can also get a free copy of my book. You'll be invited to join me in an exclusive group-based fundraising strategy session, so you can sort of spend 90 minutes with me really understanding the formula that's needed to go out and raise the funds that you need to scale and grow your business. So yeah, a little bundle of goodies for anyone listening. Just go to pitchready.co.uk, and you can get started on that scorecard, get a copy of the book, and join a session, and just start kind of understanding the world of raising investment and whether or not it's right for you.
Excellent, James. Excellent. So pitchready.co.uk. We'll make
Yes.
sure we'll have that link, and also all of the nuggets, references, and some of the other gems that we've mentioned in this episode, all in the show notes, by heading over to www.quitandswitch.co/James Church. That's quitandswitch.co/James Church for today's show notes. But we've got a few more things to get through, James, just before we wrap up today's episode. So James, you just talked about pitching. I think one of my favorite pitchers of all time is Sam Jones from Dragon's Den, who the founder of Generate. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
great pitch. I've met him a couple of times. He's an awesome guy. Yeah.
Yeah, really good pitch. You know what was great about that pitch?
Mm,
2 things. One, it was clear, it was concise, it was articulate, it was inspiring. and he didn't need much time to get his what could be quite a complex concept across. And he engaged and he resonated. But the other thing is that he offered a very reasonable share of equity in the eyes of the investors that he was pitching to. So in most deals that I deal with, you would look at that and say that's a really quite bad deal. He didn't get a lot of investment for the amount of equity he gave away. But he knows the show. He knows what attracts dragons and what they're interested in. He wanted the PR. He wanted the benefits that come beyond the cash and the equity. And he put a very reasonable offer on the table, which these investors would snap his hands off for a slice of that at that price, because they knew that the business is worth way more than what he was offering on that TV show. So he was very strategic with the Dragon's Den investors, and you need to a wider point, you need to really understand the investors that you're pitching to. So if you're a tech founder who's pitching your pre-seed round, you really need to understand what motivates a pre-seed tech investor and what their risk analysis is like, and therefore how much equity they need and what's the kind of maximum they'd be willing to invest in a business like yours. And if you don't know those things, you can't offer a reasonable offer, and you end up asking for too much or valuing yourself too high, and the deal falls flat, and there's just no middle ground. There's no negotiation room. The thing he did really clever, beyond the sexy pitch that got everyone excited, was actually really understand the audience he was pitching to, and make an offer that was irresistible to those investors to get them on board, so that he could then leverage their capital, but also their expertise and the PR and everything that comes with it to create success for his business. So very smart approach, but one that we can all learn from as founders pitching for investment.
Excellent. It's an excellent breakdown, James. Thanks for sharing your perspective. We got a new segment here on Quit and Switch, just before we wrap up. It's called Quit Playing Small. And essentially, this is my question to you. So if time, resources, and effort was not an object, it was not a barrier, right? What new business or industry would you go into, or would you launch? I mean, considering you've worked with a number of startups and entrepreneurs, you hear all these different ideas. I bet there's always ideas that, I would love to start this, but I need X, X, and X.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I think I would love to do something impactful, an impact-driven business. If time and money is no object, it would be some form of technology that would have an impact on the planet in some way. I don't know what. I can't give more details than that, but it would have an impact on the planet. My son is
back to Elon, right?
Kind of animals and he's like 5 years old, and anything kind of wild animal safari, jungles, that kind of thing. So something that be really proud of, to say that, daddy saved the animals, saved the planet. That anything like that would be really cool. So I think I'd do some kind of technology that would save the planet in some way. I think would probably be my go-to.
That's awesome. Now we're thinking more on Elon Musk territory now. I love it. Saving the world. We all want to save the world. I love it.
But no, save this one first, Elon.
Yeah.
Let's look closer to home.
Yeah, maybe make a new planet with animals and then move you and your son in there.
Yeah, basically turn a planet into a zoo, and then my 5-year-old son is super happy. That's it.
Yeah. James, this has been an amazing conversation. I want you to tell the listeners where they can connect with you, how they can work with Robot Mascot, and if you have any final thoughts for our Quit and Switchers out there, if you want to lead them with anything today, please let them know.
Yeah, cool. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name, James Church. I'm sure I'll pop up. So that's probably the best place. That's where I hang out the most. And then obviously the pitchready.co.uk site is the best way to start getting some content, getting some information, and getting some really valuable resources. In terms of a final thought, I think, for me, an entrepreneur's kind of greatest asset is their ability to pitch. The entrepreneurship's a journey of 1,000 pitches, whether you're pitching a concept into the market, pitching for your first team members, trying to get top talent to join that team, whether you're pitching for investment or whether you're ultimately pitching your business for an exit come the end of the journey. Like, everything's about storytelling. Everything's about convincing people that you've got something of value here, that they want to be part of this vision. They want to be part of this journey. So really focus on your ability to tell stories and pitch clearly and articulately, because it's your greatest asset as an entrepreneur, in my perspective.
James, this has been a kick-ass conversation. You've came on here. You've definitely shown your expertise. You've definitely shown that you mean business, no pun intended. And I'm definitely going to hear our listeners and our quitting switches clicking on some of those links, visiting your websites and booking sessions with you. So wishing you all the success in the future. And hopefully maybe we'll catch up in a future episode to see how you're getting on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really, really thrilled to have been here, and yeah, really enjoyable podcast. So thank you.
Likewise. All right, listeners, take care. We'll catch you in the next episode. Before you go, remember to visit www.quittandswitch.co/James Church for all of the nuggets, transcripts, references, and links for today's show. Take care now. Bye-bye.